Hi, good morning, my friends. Today is Monday, July 6th, 2026. My name is Barb, and this is Flosstube number 36. If you're new here, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you like what you see. I'm generally a consistently long video maker, so to speak. I'm usually at an hour, sometimes hour and a half. Today will be another long one. I would also appreciate it very much if you would like my video, if you would follow along, click that little bell so you're notified as to when I do post, and please tell your friends. I always try to, in my videos, watch new people and then tag them. So if you're interested in looking for new floss tubers or just something different to watch, it'll be down below in the description box. I'm trying to get much better at putting all of the descriptions of things down there. I do try. I keep my notes here. So let me just give you a little bit of background here. If you are new, I do live in West Seneca, New York, which is just outside of the city of Buffalo. Literally, technically, I have a Buffalo zip code, but I am West Seneca, and technically Buffalo is one street over. So if you're from the area, I'm pretty close to a lot of fun things. Niagara Falls, that's not too far away. Casnovia Park. I'm an hour 15-ish from Hobby House Needleworks. That is someplace that I do like to travel. I've been there for 4 retreats now. My local needlework shop is Lazy Daisy, and she is about not even a half hour from me, maybe 25-ish minutes. She's located up in Clarence. I'm also going to put a link to her shop below because she does ship. And I just connected with one of my stitchy friends. I'm going to talk about that a little later. And she was looking for something in particular, a particular type of floss, and I know that my shop has it. So I said, hey, get a hold of Kathy. She will ship. So, okay. There's so much. I was sitting here this morning making notes, and I figured if I didn't film today, it was going to be toward the end of the week, and I need to get this off my chest, so to speak. I have a confession. Now, I don't even know where to start. I started with my WIP Parade, the last video. I did the first 10, and that's how I'm going to continue. This will be part 2, where I will go through another 10 of my WIPs in order, not in the order that I started them, but in the order that when I decided to start logging everything into a book, I just picked up a whole pile of stuff and just started writing it down. So some of these are newer starts. Some of these, honestly, I started in the late 1980s and 1990s. So they're all mixed in. There's no way that I could ever go back and try to figure out when I actually started those older pieces, unless I could correlate them with things that were going on around my kids and then figure out how old my kids were and come up with a year. That's too much work. They're a WIP. They're a WIP. So I'm going to, at the end of this video, I'm going to go through the next 10 that I have. So what's my confession? Please tell, Barb. Please tell. A couple years ago, I sat down and I pulled out all of the patterns and kits and everything that I purchased since COVID. We're talking 6 years. I did not go into all of my previous stash from anything before that. And again, I have been cross-stitching now for 50 years. I have things from the 70s, lots of things from the 80s, and lots of things from the 90s. And then I do have, from the early 2000s. We tend to ebb and flow? Move You know what I'm talking about. I had periods where I was doing a lot of cross stitching along with bridal sewing. So my bridal sewing was my daytime. I had a small business, plus I also worked with 2 bridal shops in my area, and I did a lot of alterations, plus making all types of formal wear, wedding gowns, bridesmaids dresses, communion dresses, all of that stuff. So at that point, in the 80s and in the 90s, and into the early 2000s, my cross stitch was my evening relaxation, that and quilting. So, I started doing things way back then, especially when my kids were little, just to make decorations for my home, because it was relatively inexpensive. You could buy a kit, a small kit. It came with everything that you needed, and you could get that stuff done. And I still have, I would say, everything that I have stitched for myself, I still have. Things that I made for my mother when she passed, I brought those here. So there were things that I have made throughout my stitching time that I have given away, and that's that. But I have primarily everything that I have stitched. And I did, even back then, try to date, put the date on, put the year on at least. So I have some type of chronology of what my stitching has been. So back when COVID hit and we were pretty much locked down, I started watching Flosstube, and I just, oh God, like many of us, I went down the rabbit hole, because again, back in the 70s and 80s and 90s, everything was Aida. It was white, it was natural, and it was ivory. And it was 14 count, sometimes 16, and 18 if I really wanted a challenge, right? I don't remember, I'm trying to think, but I know that there were some pieces, some smaller pieces that were kits that I did stitch on linen. And I'm actually looking around here because I'm thinking, as a matter of fact, let me see if this is one, because this is something that I stitched a long time ago. No, this is Lugana. I don't think I put a year on this, but I found this piece that I had stitched, and look at this. Look how tiny that is. So this is Lugana, and this was a kit. So this was something that was different from my normal stitching. Now I found this, I don't know, maybe 3 years ago in a pile of stitching, and I finished it. I just finished it into a little pillow with some Kim Deal fabric on the back. And then I covered that hole that I used to stuff with some wool, and I literally just did like a running stitch to hold the wool down. But this was a kit. So primarily everything that I stitched was Aida. So when COVID hit, I just, like everybody, right, I went on a buying rampage. I'm like, oh my God, that is so different from what I'm used to stitching. I had to have all the things. I had to have all of the things. So a few years ago, I decided that I couldn't keep track of it up here. There was no way. I was buying duplicates because I would be watching Flosstube and I'd say, oh my gosh, that's so pretty. I want to stitch that. And then I would buy it. So I sat down a couple years back, maybe 3 years now, and I put together an Excel sheet of all of my stuff from COVID forward. And by all of my stuff, I mean the patterns and kits that I purchased. Or if I purchased a pattern and then I decided to kit it up, if I kitted it up with just fabric, I marked it that way. If I kitted it up with just floss, or if it was a full kit. So that helped. I found that I had maybe 3 or 4 duplicates, and some of them were duplicate kits. One in particular is a duplicate with DMC and then overdyed. So right away, that was a big investment, right? So I said, okay, I've got to get some type of control over this. So the other day, it was Friday. I think it was Friday. It was Friday. We've had a heat wave here. And trust me, I love the heat. I love when I look at AccuWeather and it says real feel 100 degrees. That's just me. I hate the cold. I will never complain about the heat. But Friday, I was going to go out and do some gardening, and it would have been detrimental to my health to spend the amount of time in the gardens that I normally spend. Yesterday, I was in my gardens for a good 7 hours. It was overcast, but still. So I decided on Friday to update my Excel sheet. Now, I hadn't done it in probably a good year and a half, because of course you say, oh, you know what, I'm going to put this over here so that I know that I need to update this in my file, and then I don't do it. Next thing I know, I'm putting things away. So I decided on Friday to start updating my Excel sheet. So I have 3 bins. Now, when I say bin, I had gone to Hobby Lobby and I bought those big decorative cardboard boxes, the largest size that they have. Some of them have covers that actually come off. Some of them have covers that fold over with the magnet. I have 3 of their largest size bins. I also, back a few years ago, bought a cabinet that has a couple of drawers in it and doors in that. And then one drawer, I put all of the smaller patterns, you know, something like this size in there, because they would fit, and I didn't need to put them into one of those bins. They're smaller. Some of them are patterns, some of them are fully kits, whatever. So I have 3 of those bins plus that drawer. So there's 4 areas in which I have all of these things on my Excel sheet. I also have 4 bins of fabrics, which I am not going to log. I have 1 bin full of Aida. It is sorted by size. I have 1 bin of Lugana, 1 bin of 32 count linen, and then another bin of the different sizes of linens. And I did that a while ago, and I actually did post a picture up on Instagram with regards to that. I'm just making notes here. I want to put down my Instagram. If you want to follow me on Instagram, it's going to be below. Instagram link. So again, I said, okay, I know that I have a good foundation. I started that Excel sheet. All I really need to do is update. So I pulled out the bins one at a time, and I went through my Excel sheet. I took the drawer and I went through and I made sure I had everything logged in the drawer. I went through all of the bins, made sure I had everything logged there, and then I started pulling out all the new things that I bought, all the things that needed to be logged. So I updated everything that was a finish. I updated everything that was WIPs. And this is my confession. I have 57 WIPs. Now, I know that that's not a big number. Some people are, they don't care how many WIPs they have. And some people are monogamous, or they can only work on 2 or 3 things at a time. 57. 57. If I worked diligently on every single one for at least a week, it's over a year to even get something. I'm upset with myself. I'm not upset with my WIPs per se, because as I was going through all of them again, I love them all. They're all pretty. And on top of that, and let me clarify too, those 57 WIPs are also some of the new starts that I'm going to do this month. Because why? It's July. It's Christmas in July. No, I don't leave Christmas in July for Christmas stitching. I give myself presents in July. And my presents are Brenda Gervais pieces that I just bought at Retreat that I'm going to start. And I do want to say that I do have 2 kits in my whole collage that I'm not going to start. but I will show you the starts that I'm going to do before I do my whole WIP parade. So my new starts. And again, I'm looking down because I have my book here, STARTS. I gotta try to stay on track. So 57 WIPs. Now in my last video I said what I was going to do was take those first 10 that I showed you and work 2 threads a day, or 2 threads at a time, and at least touch all 10 of those WIPs. Well, that was a fail too. Because what had happened was I used my picker wheel, and I really do like using the picker wheel, but I think I'm going to hold off on that for a little bit. I don't know. You know, again, here I go. I make all of these plans, and then when I sit down to execute them, they don't fall into place. So one of the first WIPs that I picked up, well, actually the first WIP that I picked up after my last video was Home Sweet Home. I picked this up, and I remember saying in my last video, oh my God, there's not much more to go. Why haven't I finished this? So when I picked this up, I want to make sure I don't show you the picture. This is the pattern, Home Sweet Home. It's by Primrose Cottage. It's very sweet. And I believe this was for Valentine's Day or for February of, it could have been 2026, could have even been 2025. It says 2025. So I do remember that when I purchased this, I did purchase the finishing kit and everything. I don't know why. I don't need a finishing kit. I don't need all that other stuff. But I wanted this blush linen. So that's why I purchased everything. And I do have enough blush linen. And it's kind of funny because when I did purchase it, it was hard to come by after the fact. People were looking for it. So I finished this. There's my finish. I just had a momentary panic. Did I actually push play on this? I looked up. Yes, it's going. So at least I have one finish. Now, I am probably going to put this downstairs with all of my finished pieces. And you know what? That should be another floss tube of just all of the finished pieces that I have sitting there waiting to FFO. Maybe when I get done with all my WIPs. So I'm happy with this. It's a finish. I am going to take it down. It's going to go downstairs with the finishes. It's, oh gosh, I hate when this happens. Now I have another thought, but that's okay. And then just get her done. She doesn't have to be done right now. This will be really cute for Valentine's Day next year. I don't know how I'm going to finish her. I'll look around to see what I have because I'm really trying to use what I have. Again, because I have so much. So much. So this was a finish, and I'm happy about that because it would not have been a finish if I didn't come along and say, you know what, I need to do this WIP parade and yada, yada, yada. So that was my only finish. Now, again, as I said, my whole 2 strands on each WIP that I showed you just didn't materialize. I worked on my last floss, the day that I filmed, June 25th, I did work on her, and then the following day I finished her. So of course it was more than 2 threads, but as I said, she's done. So the next WIP that I picked up in my picker wheel, and I had just worked on this when I was at retreat with Brenda. I make it sound like she's my friend, right? Is, well, that's not the picture. Here's the picture. Maker and Mender. I have dog paws going today. I do have dog paws count. I hear Chet growling. So we're going to see. We're going to see if we have to pause. But this is Maker and Mender by With Thy Needle and Thread, Brenda Gervais. So I did pick up her on the 26th, and I worked a bit. I'm like, where is the piece? What I accomplished here was the rest of the lettering, the flowers, the bird, and then I started down here. I'll hold her back. I love this piece. I started this piece with my friend, stitchy friend, Cindy, and she finished hers. So I did start this October 1st of 2023. I'm stitching on 28 count Oaken Lugana by Picture This Plus. I'm using 1 strand of floss over 2 threads. I'm using the called for DMC, Weeks Dye Works, Gentle Arts, and Classic Colorworks threads. I love this piece, and I'm really hoping to have her finished soon. But again, here I am talking about all my WIPs and trying to get them finished or worked on. And as I said, I know some people, they don't care how many they have, and I understand that. And all of my WIPs, I love them all. But the reason I chose to stitch them is because I want to see them. I want to see them finished, and I want to see them on my walls. And it's not doing me any good with them buried in bags. So this is my goal. I don't know how else to achieve this goal other than just not starting anything else. And maybe my starts here, my Brenda Gervais starts, will be what I start for the rest of the year. But now I'm sitting here thinking, you know what, I want to do the August summer camp, and what about the Primrose Smalls, and I have to make choices, and it's really hard. It's really hard to make those decisions, and I do struggle even with everyday tasks. I look at a project and I have to have all of the pieces in place before I can start something. We can have that whole conversation on another day. But anyway, so I worked on Maker and Mender. I worked on it for 2 days. Again, more than two threads, because I enjoyed it. So then on Sunday, June 28th, I went to the South Buffalo Garden Walk, and it's lovely. We have a lot of garden walks here. We've got the City of Buffalo Garden Walk coming up. There's one in Hamburg. If you have garden walks in your area, if you are a gardener, or you just really enjoy walking through gardens and just seeing all the different things, I highly suggest you do a Google search in your area, garden walks in my area, and see what pops up. So ours here in the South Buffalo area, and I'm crossing my fingers that next year they extend the boundaries. Even though I have a Buffalo zip, I'm technically West Seneca. So they're looking to expand a little bit and include the 14220 zip. Because there's, I was chatting with one of the chairmen, and he says, you know, there's people in Lackawanna, which is 14218, but they are also on the border. Anyway, so I'm hoping next year that I can be a participant. That would be lovely. So when I came back from the garden walk, and it was hot. It was, again, you know, in the 80s with a real feel in the high 90s. And again, I'm not going to lie, I love the heat. So I went outside and worked in my gardens because I was very much inspired. I believe I did post pictures of the South Buffalo Garden Walk on my Instagram page. It was lovely. It was lovely. That can be a whole other story. Maybe I'll talk more about it when I do a garden walk of my own gardens. Again, because my friend Marcy, Amnicon Studios, she just did another garden video. Okay, so we're past that. So what I did that evening, I worked on cardinal kin. Now, I remember telling you with regards to cardinal kin that I began this for my husband after his mom passed, my mother-in-law. And it was supposed to be a Christmas gift. Oh my God, I am pulling my table runner here. It was supposed to be a Christmas gift, and I'm very much embarrassed that I haven't finished this. So I'm trying to make this a priority. Everything is a priority, right? But I did. I worked on cardinal kin a little bit. I do not press my pieces. I do not take my needles out. I do not use needle minders. I generally don't use hoops, okay? This is a nice stiffer piece of linen. I'll tell you what it is in a second. But I worked on cardinal kin. I did fill in a little bit. Honestly, I didn't do as much as I had wanted to. I really only worked on it that one evening, but I did do the 2 threads, and actually it was more than 2 threads because I did a few colors. So cardinal kin is by Plum Street Samplers. I do have the picture of the pattern here for you. And there's cardinal kin 2 in this same pattern, and I believe it is just, no, I know it is. It's just the difference in the thread colors that you use. I did start this in 2023. Again, embarrassed by the fact that I haven't finished it. It is tiny. I am using 32 count Witcheled white chocolate. I picked up the fabric through Han⁹nah Creates. And I'm using the called for DMC Weeks Dye Works and Classic Color Works. I do stitch 1 strand of floss over 2 threads, and I do that on anything that is 16 count or higher. I prefer a more rustic, primitive look. Something that I'm going to show you that I picked up to work on. I am disliking it, but there's a reason why I'm going to work on it. I'll get into that too. So yeah, this is, again, has to be a priority. Has to be a priority. I'll get there. I'll get there. I really, really, really want to finish this for him for this Christmas so that it can hang on our family tree. I think he would really like that. I did make him an offer though. I asked him if he wanted to learn how to cross stitch. He said no. Only because when he sees that I have to rip things out, he's like, I couldn't do that. I couldn't put time into something and then have to take it apart. I'm like, that's not the reason. The reason is you can't count. Neither can I, apparently, when I have to rip things out, right? The other day I was working on an Afghan. I had to rip out 26 rows. That's a story for another day. I'm not even going to go into that. Okay, so I stitched on cardinal kin. And then, oh, actually I stitched on it for 2 days. Okay, so I did that. I stitched on it on Sunday. I stitched on it a little bit again on Monday. Tuesday, my Tuesday stitches when I babysit, and I've shown this before, is Signpost Stitcher. This is my, I usually take a something that I can work on easily when I babysit, so that it's just one of those things. This is it. I'm working on Ada. So it's just a lot easier to stitch. My grandson does like to help me. He likes to pull the thread through. And he's going to be 7 next month. I can't believe it. He likes to help me sew. He likes to help me stitch. Tomorrow, actually, I'm going to bake cookies with him and my granddaughter. I love to do those homey things with them. So here's my stitcher, signpost stitcher. Did get a little progress stitching the letters, the T and the I. This is a design by Colorado cross stitcher Sherry. I'm gonna make sure I don't pull the pattern out. This is it here. And I believe I have shown you the last time that I've already made the companion piece. And that sits here in my dough bowl. So I do have quite a ways to go. I thought I was halfway through. And then when I looked at the pattern, I thought it was printed on 2 pages. It's printed on 3. So I'm finishing up the first page. I have 2 more to go. But you know what? That's okay. Her patterns are very easy to follow. They are in color. And I do like that I have a dedicated piece for my babysitting days. And again, usually what I take is something that is stitched on Aida or Lugana. It's just, you know, even if I can get 40 or 50 stitches in while my granddaughter naps, and then my grandson, he has time where he has to read his books. So if I can stitch on it, I do. If we're too busy, if we're outside playing or something like that and I can't stitch on it, that's okay. It becomes my Tuesday night stitch. So my babysitting stitch can be done anytime Tuesday. So that one you're going to continue to see. I did have a new start, and that was on July 1st. Now, Sherry, Colorado cross stitcher. Again, I'm going to write this down. Oh, I already did. Okay. So Colorado cross stitcher, she does summer camp. For June, the prompt was, something from a magazine. I've shown you that. That was a pillow that I made. I did show that to you. It's called No Garden. July's prompt is anything that is in your patriotic colors. So wherever you happen to be, wherever your country, or possibly even your state, you know, if you want to use your own colors from your state flag. I chose the red, white, and blue. This particular prompt runs for the month of July. So I did have a start, and I knew what I wanted to do. I just, I didn't really want to go in too much into detail, and I did post this on my Instagram page as well. So I am working on a prairie schooler ornament. I took the gardener, that guy there, and I turned him into red, white, and blue because how fitting, right? July, gardening. And so I started him on July 1st. And it's been going okay. The prairie schoolers are, you know, smaller pieces, and there's a lot of little bits of color change. Now, what I ended up doing, because the pattern is an older pattern, it is from 1992 to 1995, this designer series. So there's 4 of them there, and they're all on one page. So if you remember how small that can be when you take those 4 and put them on one page, and the legend, it's very tiny to see what the designs are. So I looked at the pattern itself, and I figured out where I could place my red, my white, and my blue. So this is where I am so far. What I'm trying to do is work in one color. Now I don't want to show this to you because this is my pattern. So my blue, which is this dark blue here, no, royal blue, whatever color you want to call it, that's going to be his Santa coat. I used reds for the flowers. I'm also going to use red on his hat and his gloves. Or no, I'm not. Yes. No. Erase that. The blue, it's a good thing I have all this written down. The blue will be his Santa coat. The red is going to be his apron and his hat, I believe. I do have red flowers on here. And then the white will just be like the cuffs and his beard. So primarily, as I said, the red and the blue will be his coat and his apron, his hat, the white on the cuffs, the reds and the flowers. I am, again, pulling, and I don't know, it's hard to tell this, but the flower pots on here, I used a real dark blue for that. So I'm pulling all of those threads from that big bin of colors that I have, you know, those leftover pieces of thread. My bangs are driving me nuts. I'm sorry. I did curl them this morning and they went flat when I went outside. So I'm pulling colors from there. And this, as I said, this is going to be my July piece. And it's going well so far, but you know, I had to sit there and figure out what colors I needed to do, and then I kind of like wrapped the colors. And as I'm looking at this, I'm not even sure I pulled out a color for his face. I didn't. Now that I'm looking at it, I'm going to have to go back and find something for his face. But I can tell you, I'm using a piece from a leftover piece, fiber on a whim, 18 count Ada, caramel macchiato. This is what I still have some more left. So this will be great for another piece. There's a decent size something or other, maybe a long piece. Who knows, right? It'll go back up and stash. What I've been trying to do is keep the fabrics with the piece until I am done and then put it back. This is another problem that I have with that whole number of WIPs that I have. How many of them? Oh, I didn't count. You know what? I don't even think I told you what I have in that numbers wise, but let me finish going through what I'm stitching and then I'm going to chit chat real quick about that. So that was something else that I stitched, and that is for the July summer camp. So now with the July summer camp, it does not have to be fully finished. It just needs to be finished. So if you pick a small piece and stitch it in the month, you can go to Sherry's website. She actually has it listed in one of her YouTube videos on Flosstube, how to upload. You go to her website, you look for the what's new, drop down the box, and it says summer camp, and then you can upload your photos from there. So I'm going to fully finish this, fingers crossed, in July so that I can actually put it down with my Christmas stuff. So that was something else that I stitched. And then one other piece, I am just literally moving stuff all over the table here. So I started that July 1st. I worked on it on Thursday. And then Friday was the day that I updated my Excel sheet. And I literally spent all day. Now, I know I started talking about this in the beginning, but let me just give you some final numbers because I honestly don't remember if I said this. I have, since COVID, 313 entries in that Excel. 313. So out of that, I broke it down. There were 68 that have been worked on. Out of the 68, 10 of those were finished. That gives me 57 WIPs and then one pattern that I'm actually going to give away today because I know I am not going to stitch it. And it has been sitting here waiting for me to give this pattern away, but I am going to do it today. So that means there are 245 patterns and kits sitting there waiting for me. 245. I did not count how many of these things I have kitted up, whether it's with the floss or the fabric. So that's a lot of money sitting there, a lot of threads sitting there. And I know there are duplicate threads. I know that. So on one hand, that's a waste because I'm going out and I'm buying more things to kit up these other things that I want to do, not realizing that what I have, I could look through, right? No, I am not going to sit down and write down everything that I have in every kit. That's just way too much for me. That's too much for me. But I can say that there are 245 patterns and kits sitting there waiting. I did not get the full number of kit. I can't do that. It's just, it would make me crazy. So that's why I'm saying we have 52 weeks in a year. Even 2 years. It's going to take me 4. I gotta rein this in, okay? As she says to herself, as she looks over to say, oh, I gotta show you what I purchased. Yes, we know that cross stitch and quilting are 2 separate hobbies. There's the collecting side and there's the working side. So the other thing that I worked on, I was just done with everything on when I did that on Friday. I pulled out another piece that has been sitting there and I said, you know what? I have to work on this, and there's a reason why. First, I pulled out patterns that I'm going to give away. I'm never going to stitch them. I do not. It's not something that appeals to me any longer. I do have one I'm going to give away later on. I'm going to show those to you. But right now, I have these things it's just not making me happy. I'm never going to stitch them. I'm pulling them out of my stuff. But this piece, I had to work on. My mother started this. It was a kit. This kit is from 1981. I wasn't even married yet. And speaking of which, today would have been my mother and father's 69th wedding anniversary. Sadly, they didn't even make it to number 5. But today would have been their 69th wedding anniversary. My mother was 16 when they got married. My father had just turned 21. That's what happened back in the 50s, right? So my mother started this. Creative Expressions, the Irish Prayer. I found this in her things after she passed, and this is how she kept her floss. Just wrapped in some tissue. She made mistakes. I found those. And knowing my mother, that's probably why this was put off to the side. She's like, I'm not doing this anymore. I made a mistake. But I pulled it out. Even looking at this, I can see where she used the wrong color in something. I don't know how, where's my other clips? I don't know how some of her mistakes were made. I don't know what she was counting. I don't know if she just got agitated. I don't know. So I pulled out some of her stitching and restitched it. And because things were incorrect, it's still wrong, but I'm going to try to pick up from where it is. So this is what my mother stitched. This is as far as my mother got. If you look up here to this shamrock, it's 2 different colors. I'm leaving it. What I'm going to do, because I really, if you look at this, it has the flowers along the bottom. I'm going to stitch the flowers down to about here. I'm not going to put those flowers to here. So I'm going to turn this into a pillow. I'm not going to frame this. I'm going to turn this into a pillow. So it'll probably be something such as this. So those flowers will continue down here. As I look at the pattern, the last little bit of roses comes down just a little bit here and circles under. I had to work on this for whatever reason. I don't know. I was thinking about my parents, thinking of, you know, what life would have been like. I was a child of divorce in the 60s. It was horrible. Nobody wanted to rent to my mother because she was a single woman, possibly a loose woman because she was divorced, right? It was very, very difficult. Fortunately, we had an older Polish family couple. The man, I believe, really took pity on my mother and told his wife, please rent to them. And they were wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Honestly, that is where part of where I learned my love, or developed my love of gardening, because Mrs. Jamaj, that was her name, had extensive gardens and allowed me as a child, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, to love those gardens. But anyway, I saw this when I was going through the whole updating the, sorry, that was Pip. Going through all of that whole thing and updating my Excel sheet, and I had to work on it. So I brought it out, and maybe I'll only work on it for a little bit more. I don't know. But at this point in time, this was something that I needed to do to maybe give me that little bit of peace, or I don't even remember. Well, I hate to tell you what I remember of my parents. My father wasn't really a very nice man when he drank, and that's all I'm going to say. But anyway, so this was something my mother started, and I'm going to finish it. I don't believe it's going to be a finish this year. And maybe, you know what, I can look at this and say, I can have this as a finish for next March, for St. Patrick's Day. I think that might be a nice goal. But that is another reason why I pulled this out when I went through that whole list. So where are we now? That's really all I've worked on. Yesterday I gardened for a good 7 hours, and when I came in last night, I went to stitch. I just couldn't do it. I just didn't have the focus or the attention to pick anything up. And that's okay. That's really okay. Sometimes we need that. So because I'm still talking about that Excel spreadsheet, one of the patterns, and I do have quite a few here that I am going to pass along. One of the ones that I would like to pass along right now, and I may have talked about this before. Now, I know I've talked to you about this pattern and how I purchased it incorrectly, thinking it was one and it wasn't, and then I started it twice, and it's just not going to happen for me. I am not going to stitch this, and I would love to pass it along to somebody that will. I do make working copies of my patterns, so I'm not going to send you the piece that I marked up, but I will send the original pattern. So this is what I would like to pass along. This is Silver Creek Samplers. This is the pattern that I purchased incorrectly. And I would like to send this to somebody who would like to stitch it. Now, I know that it's going to, I'm trying to look through my pieces here. I know that it's going to take some time, and it did require a lot of DMC. And I'm not going to send the floss because I suspect that most of us have what we need, especially the DMC. So if you would be interested in receiving this, please use the word Christmas in a comment. I will use the random picker from YouTube. They have something on there, I believe. And I will post in my next video, who the lucky recipient is. Please don't use the words win or prize or giveaway or anything like that. Even if you just say Christmas in July, but the word will be Christmas, spelled out, Christmas. I would just love to send this along because I'm not going to stitch this. If you are so inclined, you could take this pattern and even just make tiny little pieces. There's a car and a turkey and a reindeer and everything else. And, there's so many possibilities with this pattern, but I know I won't stitch this. So the word will be Christmas. And that's my Christmas list. By Silver Creek Samplers. And I will probably put up another video in a couple of weeks. So, I will pull just before I go to do that video. So we're going to put that to the side. So I know I'm already at 50 minutes on this video, and I'm going to keep going. I want to go through my next 10 WIPs in my WIP Parade, and I want to show you my new starts. So it's going to be a little bit yet, just so you're aware. I did also watch quite a bit of Flosstube these past weekish. Instead of going through everybody that I did watch, I'm going to tag them below. I can tell you 2, 4. I've watched at least 10 different Flosstubes. 3 of them are new. As I said, I'm going to tag them below. A couple of them were ladies that do full coverage. I can't even imagine that. I cannot even imagine a full coverage. I don't have the attention span to do that. And I applaud anybody that can really do that, or any of those super large pieces. I feel, and I have, and I know this for myself, I have a few WIPs in my stash that are from the 80s and 90s that I have lost love with. And I've got to figure out how to rekindle that romance. So I'm going to put their names below. That's going to save us a little bit of time. I'm going to just pause for a second. So if you need to go and get yourself something to drink or get up and stretch your legs, go ahead and do that. I'm going to pause, and I'm going to pull all of my WIPs out, and then I will go through my next 10 WIPs. So this will be WIP Parade Part 2. Okay, settle in. So these next 10 WIPs, what I tried to do when I went through that whole Excel sheet was when I put my WIPs back in my bins, it's actually a cradle that I use, I tried to put them in alphabetically, and I was so proud of myself. I got everything in there. Now I had to pull them all out because in my book they're not alphabetical. That's okay. I know my ABCs. All right, so we'll start with this one. Now these are in no particular order. I don't have them by like the last date worked or anything like that. It is just the way I've pulled them out here. So this is the New Gobbletons. This is by RATM. I really enjoyed this piece, but the problem that I am having with this, I purchased the actual fabric for this, and what's happening, and look at that, my needle. I gave myself, I looked at the pattern here, the picture on here, and I gave myself the spacing that appears on this it's pre-printed fabric, okay? So I gave myself the spacing, but what it looks like is in here, you see how close his hat is to the top of the pumpkin? This pumpkin looks a little bit shorter and squatty like me. But on the fabric, it is tall. Let me put this behind it. See? I don't like all of this empty space up here. Hang on. Let me go on this side. So I'm looking at this. Once I fill her in, I've got like this much space at the top. And I really think that this pumpkin, when they did this, instead of short and squatty, it's tall and skinny. So when I was working on this, once I started going through it, and I realized that he is not going to look nice, or there's going to be so much up there, I put it away because I'm thinking, what am I going to do in that space? I have to fill that space or it's going to look really awkward. I can't cut the top of the pumpkin off. I got to fill the space. Guess where it went? Into the bag. So if you have stitched this and you have run into that problem, please offer a solution, because otherwise I don't know if I want to find something that says Happy Thanksgiving and put that across the top. That's why that's in the WIP pile. The next is, this is a few things in here. You know what, to be very honest, I don't even know what I'm working on in this bag, because I have a few things in here. I think I stitched that already. Let me look here. This is Hello Winter. Oh, Hello Winter by Primrose. This is as far as I've gotten. I don't want to show the pattern. I believe this was a freebie. This is it here, Hello Winter. I think this was a freebie. And if I remember correctly, this is the second time I'm stitching it. I might have stitched it and gave it as a gift for my sister-in-law, which I think I did, because I tried to give her something for her birthday in January. And I honestly do not know what I have in here. This is something. This is how bad this is. This is something. All right, let me look for the pattern. Here he is. He's a snowman. Okay, I found it. Winter Trifles. So I'm doing this guy. We shall have snow. This is a pattern by Shepherd's Bush. And again, into the bag. Into the bag. Unbelievable. This is stitched on 25 count prim. And I'm actually using 2 threads. Yeah, I'm using 2 threads over, and this is probably why I put it in here, because I don't like it like that. 2 strands over 2 threads. So here it is. This is why it's important that we look at our WIPs and see what we have. Because some of these just really could be done quickly. This, I believe, I am going to pull out from my rotation as a WIP, because these are the Lori Holt stitch cards. And you've all seen these, right? You've all seen these stitch cards. I don't believe I have, I know I don't have all of them, because it got to the point where I was like, all right, this is getting a little ridiculous. I started stitching some. Again, these were like babysitting pieces, and then I got bored. I'm going to say it honestly. I got bored. I've got this little guy done. I was doing them for fall. I was going to make little pillows. So he's done and in here. I've got the little tractor threads. So he's done. Well, he's partially done. Again, I was doing them as my babysitting stitch and I got bored. So they went in here. I have a bunch that are already done. I have a bunch of pieces cut out. I have a pair of glasses. So all of these are cut, or these are all done. So you know what? I should just put these down in my bin. These look like they could be Easter pieces. I think I'm actually going to do that. I'm going to put this with my finished things and take that downstairs, because those can go in a finished pile and then they're not sitting in here, and then I can turn them into, this one's actually going to stay in here. I can turn them into little pillows. I don't know why I have note paper in here. I have plenty more ready to go. So I guess what I'm saying is I really don't consider it a WIP because it's not something that I work on all of the time. What I was trying to do was use up Aurifil threads. I bought these. I don't care for them. I bought them all. I don't care for them. So I am using the Aurifil threads on these just so that I can use them up. But this is, it's like an ongoing, perpetual WIP. Another one that's sitting here before they all start to fall. This is Hope, Summer at Pansy Patch Manor. Let me pull the pattern for you. This is it here. Hope, Summer at Pansy Patch Manor. My card's in here. Did I write anything on it? No. That's something else I was trying to get better with. When I work on a WIP, what I had said was, you know what, start putting, go into my book and put the date of when I worked on it, because I will refer to this more than I will refer to my calendar. Yeah, that lasted like 2 WIPs, and then I stopped that too. I think if I make the task too involved, it's just overwhelming. So here's all the threads. They're so pretty. These are my colors, fall colors. As much as I love summer, I love the colors of fall. And again, here is a WIP sitting here with all of these flosses in here. And I know that I just purchased more floss, and I have some here. So I'm spending more than I need to spend. When it's, oh, that would not have been good. Almost knocked over my coffee. Jeez Louise. So this is Hope, Summer at Pansy Patch Manor. I had worked on this a little bit. It was good for fill-in, and now I'm putting in the hearts. You know, the house, I just had a momentary thought that I reversed this. The house is what took a lot. I think that, the border and maybe the flower pot and that, yeah, there's a lot of fill-in in there, but I think, that's going to go a little bit faster now that I have the house done. So let me see if I have my notes as to what I'm actually working on here. What I've been doing when I make my working copy, I do write notes on my working copy. Why is this stuck together? Well, that's not going to be helpful. Oh, there we go. Okay. So I am stitching 18 count Ada, 1/1. I don't know the color. I started this on September 12th of 2024. So it's not a full 2 years yet. Oh my gosh. What's next? What's next? Again, I'm not working in order here. I'm just pulling. This was a stitch along that is since over. One Stitch at a Time by Lottie Da. And this is the one that was done from, I believe it's called Over the Pond Facebook group. So pretty. And I know Me Sarah had designed the breakdown of this. They're already on a different stitch along for this year. She had designed the breakdown for it. It was the 2025 sale with Across the Pond Stitch and Chat group. I started it in January of 2025 using 36 count Zweigart Edinburgh linen that I got. Rocky Mountain, it says Edinburgh linen Rocky Mountain, and I'm using the Weeks Dye Works the called for. So yeah, Rocky Mountain. I got the fabric from XJU Designs, 36 count. There's our little tag. You can recognize those tags. So again, here's floss that I know I just had to buy. That's okay. It's okay. Where's my piece? Here it is. I certainly did not get very far. I know that I had started, usually when something has a frame or a border, I should say, I will do the border just to make sure I'm in the right spot, because there's nothing worse for me than doing and then finding the border was wrong, and then I use the border as my counting and yada yada yada. So this is as far as I got. That's it. Hanging my head in shame. I think it's beautiful. I was very pleased to work on it. I'm going to refold it. No, I'm not. Like I said, I don't worry about the folding marks because I will iron it. Where are we at? How many more? A few more whips here. This one is called Stitching Rules. This is Primrose, I believe. Primrose Cottage. This is it here. I believe this just came out last year. And the way this was designed is it can be worked in sections. So if you look at the back, each section was done into a pillow. I changed the order. I'm sorry, I had to pause. I had a delivery. So anyway, this can be broken down into segments or moved into the order in which you prefer. Now, for me, I don't really care about the no frogging allowed. That just wasn't me. But if I go to do that, it will be last, because I don't know if I actually want to put it on there. This particular pattern did come with a bonus chart, and I'm not going to show you the picture. Actually, I'm going to see which it is. It just says home stitch home. So I might no, they didn't show it on here. I might just take that home stitch home and see if I can figure it out. Actually, I can't, because it's stitched vertically, not horizontally. Anyway, that's a problem for future Barb, not a problem for current Barb. Let me get my needle out of the way here. And yes, as I said, I do not use needle minders on my stitching. I will lose my needle if I do. So this is where I'm at. And, you know, of course, counting is hard, and I did make a couple mistakes. But you know what? What I liked about this is that each one of them is in its own little piece. But they're not the same stitches. It doesn't follow along on the right and left side. It doesn't follow along vertically evenly. They do come out a little bit. And I didn't think of that. So this is where I've gotten so far on this. So I believe I took this with me when I went to Florida with my son and his family in March. I did take this along to do a little stitching. So that was the last time I worked on it, was March. I have it in a bag. Now I'm using all the called fors because, again, you know, it's stitched on light ash gray 28 count Zweigart. I am using one strand because, again, I like that look. And I also have in here, because I think I bought all these together. I did. These patterns, which I don't know if I have these listed in my, I have to go back now and look to see if I have these listed in my Excel sheet. I don't think I do. So I have these in this same bag. I don't even want to know. I don't even want to know. So these are color and cottons. I got them hooked here on my bag. I did purchase the color and cottons for this. It does have the DMC conversion, but I did just buy the whole set from them, the whole kit, just because. I do have this in a bag that I made myself. And again, as I said earlier, I have kept all of the stitches that I have made for myself. All of them. Back when I worked at Joann Fabrics years and years and years ago, we had kits that had crafty or sewing sayings, and they came with a plastic heart frame, and I had them all. I stitched them all, and I still have them all. So what I've been doing is taking them, because I'm not going to hang them on my wall anymore. I stitched this with my initials, 1989. I put it on my project bag. So this piece was initially in a heart shape because it fit into the frame. So of course there wasn't much fabric left because glue gun is how I put it into the frame. Let's not go there. So I just kind of crazy quilted around it. I just added fabrics so it would fit. It's just, you know. So I made the bag. And I know I keep saying this. I'm working on project bags. I really want to put them into my Etsy shop, just because that's something else I want to do. All right, moving on to the next WIP. There's two more after this. This one is called Be My Friend. Oh, goodness. Actually, yep, I still have one other thing. This is called Be My Friend. This is by the Scarlet House. Okay, it says, "Come sit with me and be my friend. We'll stitch together till the end." I am stitching this. Oh my God. This is pitiful, friends. Pitiful. Pitiful. This is as far as I got. Well, I started it the 3rd of July last year, so it's really only a year. It's really only sitting here for a year. That's the last time I touched it. Was one of my Christmas in July starts. Oh, dear Barb. Dear me, dear me. Again, all of the floss, all of the week's dye works, looking at these colors. I don't even want to say this to myself again. I am stitching on 36 count week's dye works cappuccino. It's a very pretty color. I do like it. Yipper, and there she sits. I actually have 3 more WIPs. I have 2 sitting here and then one I have to go get. This one is called Friendship Garden. This project bag I was given when I went to the Plum Street retreat. One of my table mates gave this to me. I thought she had her name on here. She does. Stitching with Westies. I like her tags too. So she gave us all this at the table. If I had a flower for every time I thought of you, I could walk in my garden forever. Now, I'm torn with this pattern, and there's a Brenda Gervais that I'm going to start that I am also torn with. I don't like a word being hyphenated or broken. So this word flower, oh, I'm sorry, maybe I should take it out. It'll be a little easier for you to see. Flower is broken. That bothers me, but I'm trying to get over it. So this was another one of my Christmas in July starts last year. I started at July 1st. I am stitching on 32 count Heartland by Picture This Plus, using all of the called for floss, stitching 1 strand over 2 threads, and I purchased it at Hobby House Needleworks during the Plum Street and Heartstrings Samplery Retreat in April of 2025. And I do remember, and the reason I did buy it is because they did have it there as a finished piece, and it was so pretty. And I thought, you can overcome the fact that a word is cut in half. But again, this was a Christmas in July start. And this, I'm so embarrassed. So embarrassed. This is my pitiful start. Look. I'm hanging my head in shame. Hanging my head in shame. Oh gosh. Listen, I need a better way to work on these WIPs. Even if I look at my number of stitching days, even if I want to say I want to stitch 7 days a week, realistically, for the most part, yes, I can stitch 7 days. But then there are the days like yesterday, I didn't have it in me. So even if I say, let's take 6 days a week, 1 day is always going to be my babysitting stitch, which is always going to be the Ada piece, one of the Ada pieces I'm working on. So now I'm down to 5 days. Do I pick 1 WIP and focus on that for five days and then move on? I have 57 WIPs. That means that I would touch a particular WIP only once in a year. I don't know what the right answer is for me. Do I do that? Do I say, okay, moving forward, 1 WIP, focus on it for a week, put it back in rotation? If it's a WIP that you get to the point that it is so close to a finish it and drop down. I think Nisi Lynn, and this is going back a few years, I think she did that one year where she just focused on a piece and just finished. And she had so many WIPs that she wanted to get through, and she worked on them and she did it. So I don't know what the best answer is for me. I do know that I get FOMO. I also get frustrated. I also get bored. I'm trying to eliminate getting bored. I don't want to fall out of love with a piece. I've done that already, and that bothers me because we invest so much time and money, especially time, into stitching, and to turn around and say, oh, I worked on that for 3 years and then I just don't love it anymore. I don't want that to happen. I want to work on my pieces. I chose them for a reason. I paid money. I want to work on these pieces. This is a perfect example. Easily Distracted by Kim Deal. Now, I did not buy this huge bag to stitch this on. First of all, I don't use these bags. I wouldn't use this bag. I don't want to stitch on a bag. So I turned this into a piece, and I was using a 10 count fabric, and I disliked it so much that I stopped. And I had been using I bought the Valdani threads for this. That was a big investment. I ended up using that fabric for a different piece, and I showed you that piece finished, so I'm not even going to go into it. So now I have this, and I want to stitch this. Did I just show that upside down? Sorry. Goodness sakes. I want to stitch this. Even though I'm not a fan of birds, I do like the colors. So I do have all of these Valdani here. I'm probably not going to use them. So now I have to figure out, do I want to put them up for sale? I did not use much of them, but these 3 pieces I did use, or these 3 skeins. These I did not. So now I have to think about that. What I did end up purchasing, now on top of purchasing the pattern and the Valdani, considering that I'm not going to use the Valdani, I made another purchase of an entire set of the DMC variegateds to try to mimic what the Valdani was going to do. And I still haven't picked a fabric. So is this technically a WIP? Well, it turned from a WIP to a UFO on the particular fabric. And now do I need to pull more fabric to work on this? What do I want to stitch this on? I don't know. But here she sits. I think it's so appropriate. I am easily distracted. I might just pull out an Aida and do a pillow. Either an Aida or a Lugana. I do not want to stitch this on linen. I want it to go rather quickly. If I look at a 14 count Aida, this really would not be, it would not be that big. It would only be, it would finish at like 7 inches wide by 5 inches high. So that's not all that bad. Maybe what I'll do is do it on a 14 count Aida, or maybe a 16 count Aida, make it a little smaller, I don't know, and then put it on a project bag. Again, this is the issue that I have with these things, is I want to do it, and then I look at it and it becomes something that is taking too much time. It's taking too much time. This is my last WIP, and then I'm going to go into what I have for new starts and for purchases. I know that we are almost at an hour and a half. As I said, this is going to be long. So I've bought this once, this whole big, like, sits on your lap little thing, and you know, this opens, and I thought this would be perfect to work with cross stitch. It's too cumbersome, but I do use it for this particular piece. Now this piece I started in honor of my mother, my daughter, and I, and I'm embarrassed again to say that this is not finished. I wanted to have this done for my mother's anniversary of her passing, and it's going on 8 years that my mother passed. Now, I started this in 2022, so it was the anniversary of, it was 4 years after my mother had passed that I actually started this. And I am stitching this on 36 count Edinburgh linen, cappuccino by Fiber on a Whim. I'm stitching 1/2. I am stitching in the initials of my mother, myself, and my daughter. I did make some color changes because when I do the initials, I want them to stand out. So I took the colors, and I'm sorry, I didn't say the name of the pattern. It's called and Be Kind to One Another by Needlework Press. It does have a companion piece to the sampler, Be Exceedingly Diligent, but I won't be stitching that. Actually, I went to retreat. I went to Needlework Press retreat with Vicki Jeanette, and she did sign it on the bottom for me. So, and she actually offered, if I wanted her to chart numbers for me, if I wanted to put in, you know, like the date. Oh, goodness sakes. I am committed to this now. I actually put in the year 2026. I have to finish this year. Oh my gosh. Barb. I will finish this year. I will. I really don't have much more to go. So, what I did, if you look here in the top, my mother's initials were JL. My initials BT. That's my maiden initial, BT. And then my daughter is actually RO. And even though the O comes before the R, if you look at the alphabet, the R is here and the O is here. So it kind of worked out for me. But this is where I am. I did put in 2026 because I said I'm committed. Now, yes, I did make mistakes in this. I made a mistake in this Quaker, so I had to figure that out. I did change colors, as I said, because I wanted to use the gold to highlight our initials. So what I have left to do here is the house. Just looking at my pattern, the house. I started the bird, so I have this area here and then this. This is all I have to do. This is beautiful. I will have this professionally framed because I feel that I owe that to myself, my daughter, and my mother. I really like this, and honestly, to be very honest, it does stitch quickly because of the fact that there's a lot of alphabet in here in this sampler. But I do know that, the house is going to be a little bit more involved. But it's not going to be that bad. So I have committed to myself. I should say I have committed myself to have this finished this year. I know that in September, I will focus on this because of my mother's passing, because of the anniversary of her passing. I feel that that's just appropriate. I have said this before, that I do have regrets with, how sometimes maybe I wasn't always nice to my mother. I was an only child. I was snarky. I was sarcastic. I was spoiled. I was an only child. I was all of those things. And I do regret now that there were times that I could have maybe taken an extra minute and stayed on the phone conversation a little bit longer. She did live with me the year before she passed. But I felt, I think back and it's like, well, maybe I could have sat in the kitchen a little bit longer and had a cup of coffee with her. You just start thinking of those things. So in honor of my mother and the 3 generations of women, I really want to get this done this year. Okay, I'm going to move on to our next segment, and I'm going to try to pick up speed here because, goodness sakes, I really want this to be under 2 hours. This is really quite enough here. These are going to be my starts for this month. It is a Brenda Gervais start for me. Well, most of them. I do have a couple here that are not. First is going to be a Token of Love. I'm not going to go over what I'm stitching these on because, to be very honest, I think I did pull all the fabrics. I did because I had to go to Lazy Daisy and pick up some floss. But I'm just going to show you what I'm going to start. And as I work on them, then, I'll go through the flosses and the colors of the fabric and stuff like that and what I'm stitching on. So, Token of Love. I should just take these out of the bag. This is it. And this is a miniature, she describes it as. The colors are very pretty. Token of Love, Brenda Gervais, With Thy Needle and Thread. So that's one. Christmas in July, Merry Christmas to Me. This I did start at the retreat. I started the small. I did not start this was the exclusive that was given to us. So pretty. Times Remembered. I know I've talked about this before. I did start this at the retreat. I'm doing the small. So this will be for here. I'm not going to do the big sampler this year. This is called Abundance and Prosperity. This was my start. I started it, as I said, I started it at retreat. I'm not even sure which way this goes, but this is where I'm at. What I do want to take out of here, because I'm pretty sure I showed it to you, but I still have it in here. This is the little lady that we made at retreat. Isn't she cute? Bink, bink, bink. She's on the clothespin. So clearly I have the fabrics and the floss and everything in here from the retreat. I really, really like that piece. This is Snowmen in the Forecast. My plan is to start at least one of them. Do one before I do another. I don't want to start all three. Snowmen in the Forecast. I do have the fabrics for these, but I'm not going to go through them right now. As I said, I just want to show you what my new starts are going to be for my Christmas in July. Where Love Grows. And I'm sure that you all have seen these, and I know I have shown them before when I came back from retreat. That I think out of all of my pieces, this is going to be the one I'm going to start first. Oh, this is crinkly. This is crinkly. I'm sorry. It is crinkly. Trying to be careful. The Gardener's Satchel. I don't think I need to take that one out of the bag. And I think what I'm going to do, instead of putting the word herbs on there, I might write flowers. That wouldn't fit. R-O-S-E-S. Roses would fit, though, but I'm not showing roses. I might just keep it the way it is and just do it the way it's called for, Barb. Just do it the way it's called for. Stop creating a problem. And then we have these little pillows, the Summer Trio. I do want to stitch all three of these. What I do find when I stitch a series of things, I get bored. So I might stitch one now. I think I might do the Hello Summer, or I might do this one. The one with the house, or Hello Summer first. I don't know. So those are my Brenda Gervais starts, I believe. Oh, nope. Hang on. Trying to make it not crinkle. Heart and Hand. Now, when I went to, I got to take this out of here. When I went to Lazy Daisy the other day, this particular pattern was supposed to be stitched on, let me pull out this floss here, Dove linen, a 35 count Weeks Dye Works Dove linen. And I was like, I don't know. I really liked this blue color. And I had pulled a piece of linen, I believe. I was going to use 36 count Scarborough Fair. But when I went to Lazy Daisy, I said, do you by any chance have Dove, the color Dove by Weeks Dye Works, and she said yes. And guess where it was? It was in her sale bin. Now, it's not 36 count, it's 32 count. But I said, you know what? I'm fine with it. I'll take it. But this is the color. It is bluish green. Very pretty. So being that it's a 32 count and not 36, it's not going to make that much of a difference size-wise. I'm going to be very happy with what it is that I'm doing, and I'm going to leave it at that. I'm just going to move these out of the way because they're crinkling. And then I found this in my stash when I was going through my whole kit and caboodle. But First Coffee by Brenda Gervais. It's called Coffee First. It says But First Coffee, but it's called Coffee First. I have this all kitted up. Again, there are flosses in here that I just had to buy for the other things, and I already have them. But we're working on that. We're working on that. Now, two other things that I'm going to start this month. Lazy Daisy, again, if you go to Lazy Daisy or you call her, she's doing a Christmas exchange or a smalls exchange. And I forgot to sign up when I was there. Send her a text. I forgot to sign up. Can you sign me up? She said yes. So again, going through my patterns yesterday, I saw this and I thought, oh, this would be quick. Monochromatic. I think I'm going to do the tree. It's called Snowflake Tree by Scissortail Designs. The snowflake in the bottom is a bonus pattern. So I think it's very doable in the amount of time. It is small. Trying to not catch the... Look at how that glares. Oh my gosh. So I think I'm going to do that. I have not pulled fabrics yet. More than likely I will do a white or a B5200 or whatever. We'll see what the color of my fabric pulls out to be. I know I do have some small bluish greens, or might even look pretty on a red or a blue. I don't know. I'm going to go down that path when I get to it. The other thing that I have to start, and when I logged this pattern the other day, I have to start this. So I found the fabric on Han⁹nah Creates. I did order it. Should be here this week. This is stitched on Shrekie's Tan. I believe I ordered 32 count. I'm pretty sure I ordered 32 count because I do like that the best. It uses all classic color works. I'm not concerned if I have the colors yet because I know I can order from Lazy Daisy if I need them. I'm going to go through what I have. But right now I ordered the fabric. I love this piece, and I'm telling you, I don't think the picture does it any justice. It's called Grandma Rose. And again, it's by Needlework Press. I just love this piece. Now I am a rose gardener. I do love my roses. I am not a professional rose gardener. I have over 60 rose bushes. I do my best to take care of them. I talk to them. I pop the aphids into, not aphids, the Japanese beetles into soapy water, protect them. But this piece, I looked at it and I have to see, I'm hoping that the colors of these flosses do not look like that on the fabric. I understand how when we take pictures of things it changes, but I'm not particularly happy with the color of, there's a lot of colors in these leaves. And they are Queen Bee and Gingerbread. So I'm not sure what it's going to look like. I don't think I like that yellowish tinge, but we're going to take a look and see. We are going to take a look and see. So when this fabric comes in, I'm going to pull what I have. If I need to go to Lazy Daisy, I've already allowed myself the grace to buy those threads if I need them. But these are all the new starts that I'm going to have. And so I've counted them in my WIPs. So that's why I said I have 57, because I did count these. Honestly, I was just going to sit here and count, but I'm pretty sure it's like 11 new things that I just showed you. I'm not even going to worry about it. But I have to take control. I have to take control. So one more segment that I want to talk to you about. If you're still sticking with me, oh my God, you are amazing. If you're watching this in sections, you're even more amazing. The last thing I'm going to show you are my purchases, and then I'm going to let you go. So what I have now, when I was going through all of my linens, I had a bunch of pieces of linen that I purchased from Hobby House, and I love how Hobby House folds it and puts it into a brown bag. But my problem is I have to open the bag all the time to see what the color is, because I don't know colors, right? So on Amazon, I ordered, I don't even know if you can see this. I'm going to try to put it here. Well, that's not going to do any good. These clear cellophane bags, yeah, that's not going to help. Can you see it? The clear cellophane bag. They don't have, you know, the sealing, like a Ziploc bag at the top. They're just like this. So what I'm going to do is take those pieces of linen out, put them in the clear bag, and then just kind of fold it over and tape it closed. It did come with decorative little, these wires. I'm not going to use them. But I did find this package on Amazon. It was relatively inexpensive. There's 200, they're 10 inches by 6 inches, and there's 200 of them in here. So I will have plenty. I'm trying not to crinkle this. I will have plenty to repackage my linens, especially, you know, like when I stitched a piece and I have a piece left, I don't want to put it just willy-nilly into the box. I want to at least put it in a package and label the package. That's really what I bought that for, so I can label the linen so I remember. When I went to Lazy Daisy to pick up my order, what I ordered was this Winter Forest from Primrose. Now, you may have seen this. Somebody, when they posted it in the Primrose Facebook group page, if you follow Primrose, if you're in their Facebook group page, you know, where you can post your completed Primrose works, somebody did these trees in pink. It was so cute. Here's a more full picture. She did them in pinks. Now, I love teal blue for Christmas. One of my Christmas trees, because I have more than one, don't judge me, is done in blues. It's a white tree. I have blue lights on it. I made a blue Christmas tree skirt. I love it. So I bought this because now I want to stitch this with blue trees. I might even attempt making a drum. I've never made a drum. I think it would be cute. So I picked this up at Lazy Daisy. Well, of course, it could not travel alone. What else did I pick up while I was standing there chatting with Kathy? These are from Pansy Patch Quilts, and I know that this is a series, and I'm trying very hard not to go find the remainder of them. This is the Houses on Stitchery Lane series. So this is number 1 in the series. It's called The Stitchery House. So very cute. And this is number 6, called The Thimble House. And why did I only get 1 and 6? Because that's all she had sitting there in the basket. And then I was standing there chatting with another lady. She says, oh, I have them all. So I don't know if she meant all that are out or if all 12 of them are out. So previous Barb, who was already complaining about the 200 and some odd patterns that she has sitting there that she's probably not going to be able to stitch in her lifetime, wants to buy the other 10 patterns in this series. Which Barb is going to win? Past Barb or future Barb? I'm not going there anymore. Okay, so also when I was at Lazy Daisy, I picked up some, she had, and I saw this on her website, she posted pictures of this new Crimson Tide linen by Barefoot Needle Art. I had to have this. I picked it up. She had 40 count left, and I was like, I'm not going to stitch on 40 count. I would have grabbed 32 or 36, but all she had left was the 40 and the 28. Look at this. Oh, you know what? Wouldn't that be pretty? Wouldn't this be pretty with this? Yes. Yes, it would. Wonder how big that would be. 28. I can't. Nope. I'm sorry. I'm not going to sit here and make you watch me do that. So this is 28 count Crimson Tide linen by Barefoot Needle Art. You can call her shop. I know she had some more left. I was just there on Saturday. And then I picked up these pieces from her sale basket. This is 32 count Mediterranean Sea by I don't know who. It's Mediterranean Sea. This is a very pretty green. That would even be pretty for that Christmas stitch. This is 32 count Terracotta Belfast. Again, not sure who the company is because she has a code that she uses. But this is like a clay red, kind of like the Cedar River linen. This is 32 count Spanish moss linen. This is it has purple undertones, but I do see some greens in there as well. These are big pieces that I bought, and I'm happy about that. 32 count driftwood Belfast linen, fabrics by Stephanie. It's a nice darker color. What I'm trying to do is build my darker colors. Trying to get out of my comfort zone. Oh, 32 count cocoa linen by Weeks. Love it. And this is 32 count again, Spanish. Did I get 2 pieces of Spanish moss? I did. I guess I liked it that much. I got a second piece. Can you see the green in that? So, these will be sorted down. Actually, they're already in bags, which will be nice because then I can put them right into the boxes where they belong. I am not keeping track of my fabrics. I don't need to do that. The other thing, if you love stickers like I do, I found these I got on Amazon. Cottage Core. And these have a lot of homey type things. See? Oh my God, they're so pretty. I'm going to sit here when I get done and go through my July book. I also, vintage food. I saw a reel and I thought this was the cutest idea. Somebody took their handwritten, now I got multiple cookbooks again because I love cooking, and if I go to an estate sale and I see a cookbook that has handwritten recipes, I buy it. I don't care. I just buy it. But what she did was she did a scrapbook with the recipe cards, or she was even writing the recipe out, but she put the stickers in. And I thought, I need these. These are all different. I don't think that there are duplicates in this, and they are all food related. All food related. So here's another set. So I thought that was a great idea. I was given a few years back. It looks like it could be a photo album, or you could use it for recipe cards. And I've been putting my special recipes in there. And I thought this would be really cute to decorate that as well. So both of these I got off of Amazon. This is called Vintage Food. This is called Cottage Core, if you're a sticker person like me. And then lastly, I have fabrics because my day Saturday was running around and doing errands. I also ordered some fabric from a shop to make my daughter a dress. She is a teacher and she does like to wear fun dresses with themes. Like if she's teaching, she teaches Spanish. So like if she's teaching about food or something, she'd ask me if I could find chicken wing fabric for buffalo. Found it. Unbeknownst to me, I actually found it on Etsy. Unbeknownst to me, the shop is here in Buffalo, but because I live in the South Towns, I don't generally travel Buffalo and upward. I don't go to the Galleria Mall, which is 15 minutes away. I very rarely go to the North Towns. The only reason I do now is to go to Lazy Daisy because I love her shop. I love her shop, Kathy. I just love the shop. And also now because this particular fabric shop, they carry novelty fabrics. I mean, sports, foods, parks. If you are looking for a novelty fabric, maybe to finish your pieces, Disney fabrics. Oh my gosh, there was so much. And they have a wall of like dots and colors. I was blown away by how much she had in her shop. Now, initially, she had cross stitch, but when I said to her, I'm like, where's your cross stitch stuff? Because it's still advertised, I think, on Facebook or Google, cross stitch. She says, oh, hadn't had that in like 30 years. But if you are looking for specific fabrics, food themes, animals, cats, dogs, farm animals, whatever, they are on Etsy. I know they ship. I know they have a website, but if you are in the local area, they are called So What, and they are on Transit Road in Depew. The shop owner's name is Barb. I'm going to put their information in my drop-down box. Again, if you're looking for something specific, if you're doing, if you're doing a small and you want chicken fabric, take a look, right? So I got 4 yards of chicken wing fabric to make my daughter a dress. And then I thought this was so pretty. Now, I am very much about blue pumpkins for Halloween. I love them. I found this. I think I got a yard, maybe a half yard. I think I bought a yard. Isn't this pretty? I thought project bag would look really pretty out of this. And then, of course, they are also on the Shop Hop. If you're familiar with quilting, they are on the Shop Hop. So I picked this up. I'm going to pop that into a project bag as well. So, friends, listen, we are 1 hour and 53 minutes. And I thank you so much. If you have stuck with me this long, or if you have watched this in segments, I know that my next few videos are going to be long because I am going through my WIPs and I am talking about new starts and everything else. I appreciate that you've been here, that you're following me. I have about 225 followers now, and I'm just so excited about that. Please remember, I'm trying to find it. If you are interested in this pattern, use the word Christmas, the full spelled out word Christmas. You can even say Christmas in July, as long as the full spelled word Christmas is in there. This will be what I will be sending out. I would appreciate it if it is in the United States, please, because I don't know what shipping is to other countries. And to be very honest, I don't know if I have any followers that are not in the US. But for now, let's keep this here. And I will look into sending things farther if needed. So this is it here. Use the word Christmas. And I thank you so very much for listening to me. I had only 2 dog paws, and one doorbell pause, which I think is a record for us. If you have any comments that you would like to leave me, I read every one of them, and I do respond back, and I'm very happy to carry on a conversation. I will have my email address below for my business. If you need to get in touch with me about anything, please use that. I will also be over on Instagram. I'm trying, as I said in my last video, to make more of a presence, especially following other cross stitchers and just holding all of us up, right? Because we all have those WIPs that we're working on and our new purchases and things like that. So I'm going to end it here. I'm at 1 minute 55. I send you all peace and happiness and love, and I wish that your thread never knots and you can make it to that last bit without having to start a new strand. Bye, friends. I will see you very soon. Have a good day.